What is happening, my friend?
Hello, Travis. Good to see you.
Good to see you, sir. Good
Wow.
to see you. I know you've been chomping at the bit for today.
Well,
For a while now.
it's been a little while, right? It's been a minute.
Yeah, but not as long as some of our last hiatuses that we've had.
No,
I
no.
mean, we
But
can go back to that if you want. We could go 2
no,
months, 6
hell
months.
no, no. Actually got calls. Hey, where was the podcast last week? A new one didn't drop on Tuesday, so people were like, "What's going on?"
Well,
So,
there was the 4th of July holiday and some stuff
yeah,
going on. So, everyone needs a little bit of a break.
yeah. Well, it was good to hear from them, though. I'm glad to know somebody's listening. So
Yes.
that's encouraging. So what a week, huh? What a day. Starting with last night.
Well, that's the nice thing about a break is in the meantime, all kinds of shit happens and new developments, storylines, some surprises, some not surprises. Nothing is shocking, which is what I always say about this administration. And you never
No.
know what you're going to wake up to.
I can honestly say I was not shocked last night. So
So we're referring to the primetime Trump speech, where I guess I don't know how long in advance he published that he was going to make a speech, but I saw it early in the week. Trump to address the nation, primetime speech, and I think when I first saw that blurb, there was some speculation as to what it would be. Is this alien disclosure? Is this more,
I know that's what
Iran?
I know that's what you were pulling for.
Yeah, I saw this meme. I guess is that am I even saying the right thing? Like a
Yes.
picture with like a quote on it. Is that a meme?
Yeah.
I feel so
Yeah.
old even saying that. And there was
Yeah.
one of Jesus on one side and an alien on the other. And Jesus says, "Look, either you do something or I'll do something." Like one of us has got to take action here.
Awesome. There's so much rich Trump stuff out there to choose from. I mean, there was a little bit out there when we were doing this 4 years ago, and but there's so much now. I mean, just in our chat group just a few minutes
I know.
ago, we're someone talking about money, and there was an opportunity to download and send some pictures of money with Trump's face on it, and two of us had it in 20 seconds. You know what I mean?
Well, and so about this disclosure, look, I am still expecting. It is my expectation that we do get more information about alien disclosure. It's owed to us. We must know what our government has been keeping from us. Maybe we'll save that debate for another day, if and when that happens.
Good.
Of course, I have a whole 4 years under my belt of studying alien technology.
Wow.
And understanding what lies beneath, literally and figuratively. So we'll get to the truth. We will.
I saw a clip today of Obama being questioned about are there aliens? When you became president, what was the first thing you wanted to know? And he said, well, I want to know, where are the aliens? And he says that there are aliens, but he never saw them. So
yeah, well, and the thing is that these presidents, the sitting presidents, they don't know. Like, no president since Eisenhower has really been involved. It was Truman, then Eisenhower, and then everybody else since then has been shielded from it. And that is what Eisenhower referred to his infamous exit speech when he left his administration, whatever year that was, by saying, the American public needs to beware of the military industrial complex. And what he was referring to was the privatization of the military force, all the outsourcing that's done to these private companies, the Lockheeds, all that shit that develops secret military might and reverse alien engineering technology that's kept from the public. And it's all the black budget shit. And so no president since then has really been privy to it. And there's two governments, right? There's our elected government and there's the black budget government. So that's the reason why Obama didn't know and Clinton didn't know and all these guys is because they're not privy to it.
Wow, yes. Did Eisenhower coin the term military industrial complex?
I believe so. Yeah, I do believe it was in his exit speech.
Okay, wow. Well, that's awesome. That's really been around for a long time. So
it has, and it's so fitting. But, and I bring that up, kind of jokingly and not jokingly, because there has been some alien disclosure. We really haven't gotten into that since we reconvened on a regular basis, but we will.
Yeah.
We'll save that. We'll tee that one
Okay.
up.
All right,
But
cool.
when I saw this Trump announcement, I wasn't sure what we were going to hear. Is it more stuff about Iran, which is fucking mind numbing every goddamn day? We have a peace deal. We don't. They're blocking the strait. They're not. We've agreed not to tax the ships coming. I mean, what? You can't even keep your head straight. And then, of course, the media gets word and I guess they get transcripts or something, that in fact, it's not about that. It is going to be an announcement on election fraud. And so going into the speech, the American public is made aware of what this maniac is going to talk about. And you, my friend, I do believe you sat glued in front of your screen and watched it. So
I did. I watched, I don't watch a lot of Trump speeches because they make me physically sick to my stomach most of the time.
Is that true? Do you really get a physical reaction?
Yeah, because he's such a liar, and it's just hard to watch. And but this, and we had a little chat group action about this before it started, which made me happy, very happy. But it fell short. I predicted he was going to announce a huge emergency in connection with voting. But I think this was just a setup to announce a voting fraud emergency. And I don't know if it's worth talking about all the reasons why he's doing that or not, but
sure. Yeah.
I watched every second of it because, and I was amazed, Travis, that how blatantly wrong every single thing he said was. And
all right, well, I want to get into all this.
All right,
but hang on, go back before you go there, because I am curious about this, and I'm kind of making a joke, but kind of not.
Yeah.
Did you always get this physical feeling when, like, of disgust or whatever you want to call it, watching? Is it watching him? Is it hearing him? Do both of those things trigger you equally?
Watching more than, I can hear him, and I'm pretty desensitized to that because he's, there's some kind of clip on the news or on TikTok or something every time you turn around. But to sit down and watch him speak, to the supposedly to the American public and just lie blatantly and quote things that have been debunked and just all the nonsense, it does make me very upset because for a variety of reasons. But I have that physical reaction with a few people, both in the media and in my personal life.
Well, my brain immediately went to one individual that I think you're referring to, and I understand that. But look, I get it, right? It's real. And I always say this, I'm not an expert on anything. I've not studied psychology, but I have spent a lot of time on a therapist's couch over the years. So I understand that is real, whether it's tied to like acute traumatic stress or some type of, traumatic event that can cause a physiological reaction. I get that. But I think it's a good thing. And I have to say, when I watch this guy, I just find him tremendously entertaining. And I'm not saying it's good entertainment. Like, again, you tune into an air show, it's because you want to see a plane crash. And the reason why, race car events are so popular is because, people want to see the crash. But it's like, when I watch that guy, it is, and I get it, the fucking serious people are going to say, well, it's not a laughing matter. This is the president of the United States, and he's the leader of the free world and the commander in chief. And it's dangerous, one of your favorite words, to have a guy like this in control. But I think it's entertaining because it's so laughable when you look back at the image of the office of president in this country and the prestige and the professionalism that has gone with that office for, I guess, mostly our history. And then to watch it turn into this entertainment spectacle, it is laughable. And so on that, I'm reacting to that piece, his mannerisms. I love when he goes off script and just repeats shit like, we have the best military, and but that's all. We have great equipment, but of course it's the people, the beautiful people. You can't have it without beautiful people. And then just goes back to the script.
Your imitation is getting better and better.
Yes.
You need the hands, though. You need the hands.
Yes. Talks with hands. But but here's the thing. And this is something else I wanted to bring up. And this, I was, paying attention to before the speech last night, which was um, in your people. I'm sure you saw this. I'm sure they sent out an advance notice to you in your "I'm a Good Democrat" talking points paper that the media has an obligation to not air this maniac, to not give him a platform to promote his lies and spew his nonsense. But that's where I disagree fundamentally, and I do want to get into the content of his speech. And I know you're
I'd rather
clamoring
talk
to.
about. Oh, I know. I'd rather talk about this aspect of it. Go ahead.
Okay, but to your point, and to tie in what I'm saying and what you described as this physical vomit feeling of watching this guy, that's the only way to educate people. That's the only way to expose him, if that's what you want to call it. People have to see what he is and what he's saying and decide and judge for themselves. But when you shield that, when you demand that the media doesn't publish him, doesn't give him a platform, then I think that plays into the right. I think that plays into the MAGA movement of like, look, they're trying to keep us down. I mean, that's what the communists do. That's what the book burners do. That's what, that's what the Nazis do, which is you can't have an opposing message. And I've said this back in the day, during COVID. I said it when it comes to like Facebook posts and everything in between. I think we're better off letting him dig his own grave. And so I was rather shocked that a lot of the major media channels actually responded and reacted to the demand of the far left, which is you can't air this guy. So I'm glad at least that you found a way to watch it.
Yeah, I don't think it was difficult to find a way to watch it. I watched it on Fox News, probably the longest period of time that Fox News was on my television set uninterrupted.
I have to dispute
ever.
that, my friend, because I am aware. I don't know if it was the 2020 election or the 2024, whenever the last one was, but when you were watching the polls from Fox News and you were texting me because you were paying attention to that guy's report. I forget who it was, but
yeah,
anyway.
but even then, I was going back and forth between. So I did not watch any of this thing on MS Now, which is where I probably usually would watch it. They did carry it, but ABC, NBC, and CBS did not carry it. Of course, CBS, which is now fully in the pocket of Trump and the Ellisons, they did carry it, and Fox News, obviously. And I don't know, yeah. I have Newsmax and all that crap blocked on my TV. I don't want to see any of those smiling jackasses on those far right. But I did. It was interesting to watch it on Fox News, and even Fox News had to make some disclaimers because they've already had their ass sued off and handed to them once for promoting a false election nonsense, right? Oh, why is my picture moving around like that? That's weird.
You're all zooming all over the place.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so yeah, so even they had to say, hey, we cannot verify any of this nonsense that you're about to hear on here. But you know what? I don't disagree with you at all in this case, and I'm a little torn. I think those three sources, NBC, ABC, and CNN, chose not to cover it because they felt that all of it, everything he said, was misinformation and probably carried some potential legal liability, especially the way he's shit-talking Dominion and the voting machine companies and so forth. And the blatant slanderous claims that he made and untruths that he told, I think that some of those, at least those three networks, large networks, just said, hey, we're not going to participate. And I think that's, we face this in the real world sometimes. I think the fact is that there were plenty of other sources for people to hear it, that they did not feel that it was incumbent upon them to have to. And so I don't really think it was a matter of them bending to the will of the far left. I think they are, as those three networks are, I think they feel under attack from this administration, and I think they feel no responsibility or need to carry what was sure to be a full broadcast of propaganda nonsense and wrong, discredited voter fraud information.
So you think it was just more of a boycott than anything? You know,
Yeah,
is there is it? I mean, is that where we are in this world in society where these news channels they can't be sued if they just air what he says? Is that right? Or can they be?
I no, I don't think that they would get sued for that, but certainly Fox got, they lost that huge Dominion voting lawsuit, almost $1 million, right? Or almost how much was it? Now I've forgotten. Was it
I don't remember.
almost $1 billion? It was huge. It was one of the largest lawsuits we've ever seen, and they lost it for broadcasting Trump's election fraud nonsense, especially as it pertained to voting machines and those being corrupted and vote changing and all of that stuff. Which he engaged in a lot of nonsense about that last night.
So let's go there then. Uh, Obviously, there's a lot in what he's saying and what he's been saying since 2020. What is election fraud? Let's go there. What? And I'm asking you now. I don't know what he said, but what in your mind constitutes?
Did you not watch it?
No, I don't watch it. I don't.
Oh, you
I
didn't?
did not watch it. No, because look, I read it.
Okay,
but I need to be consistent. I have not watched any. I haven't watched his State of the Unions, even when he was president the first time. I just find it such a waste of my time. I need to be educated and understand it, so I will go back and read it. And same thing last night. I was reading it.
Yeah.
The only time I watch Trump is when I pull clips either for this show or if I need to, somebody sends me something, or if I want to be entertained with all of his hand talking. So no, but I mean, this idea of election fraud, and then I'm not going to sidestep it. Look, election fraud, as Trump is saying it, he has been saying this whole time that there was mass fraud and he won the 2020 election, but he wasn't declared the winner because there was fraud. I mean, so that's the narrative, right? That he's been saying, am I right? Is it 2020?
Yeah.
That he's been saying. And so his allegation is that there were fake votes, right? But really, if you counted all the legitimate votes, he would have won. But the reason that he wasn't declared the winner is because there was fraud. So that's kind of the baseline of where he's coming from, correct?
Yeah. I'm going to go back up one step. I'm going to tell you that I agree with you now. I think we are at the point where, at least for me, I need to stop taking him quite as seriously as I have, and start leaning into the fact that he has become a laughingstock, and virtually everything he says and every appearance he makes and every clip you see of him, really, it doesn't deserve any serious consideration at all, and really we should just be trying to get the comedy out of it now. So I agree with you 100% on that. As far as what this was about last night, I don't think that there was I don't even think he believes that he presented any credible new information to anybody, right? It was all in the dramatics, and that's something, if you just read it, that you probably spared yourself, was the dramatic delivery where he was, because he thinks he's a great actor, right? He thinks he's the greatest at that kind of stuff.
Well, I think he's a better actor than he is politician.
Well, yeah. So,
I mean, come on. Have you seen Home Alone 2?
You know what? How he didn't get an Academy Award for that, I don't know. Lifetime achievement, something like that.
Maybe they could still give him one.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just think the whole purpose of this was to sow doubt, because he knows damn well that if even in not only the 2028, but in this midterm election, if the Democrats, take either houses or both of them, that he is in deep doo-doo, right? And that the only way that he isn't facing, about 6 years of straight prosecution for his nonsense and all of the malfeasance that he's committed while in office is that the Democrats somehow there isn't a blue wave and they don't take back control. I think he sees that coming. I think he's pretty desperate. That's why he went on with this thing. No real facts, no credible. Everything he cited has been debunked. There was nothing new in it, and it was just to spread the mistrust of the election system. So when his cronies and his fellow Republican legislators lose their ass in this election, he's gonna use this as a way to stir up his bait and say, "See, I told you. The only way that you guys could lose like this is if they were cheating." And that's all it is. It's nothing more.
Yeah, and that same narrative he's been saying since the last election. I think that he knew. I keep saying 2020. Is that right? Is that when the last election was?
Well, the last election was 2024, which he won.
Well, yes, but the one that he lost.
So
was
2024 was not
fraud.
corrupted, right?
Right.
2020, 2016, not fraudulent.
Correct.
Because he
Only
won
2020.
those. Only
Yes.
2020, right?
Yeah. So, but the narrative has been the same. He's been consistent, which is, the only way that people will not elect me or the Republicans is if there's fraud. So he's been consistent with that statement.
Yep.
So what was the deal? He said there was some 230,000 either fake votes or people registered who were not legal citizens or something. But that's the number, 230,000.
Well, so in our chat group last night, that was the number that was being, and I responded directly to a comment that was made. Is it a problem if there are 230,000? I guess the assertion was, okay, let me back up. He said that the Chinese accessed 250 million voter rolls, right? Somehow. Now that stuff is, voter rolls are not top secret, right? That's public information. There's a lot of ways to get voter roll information, and it doesn't make any difference because there's nothing in what he said about that changed a single vote. So he's saying, hey, somehow the Chinese accessed 250 million. Now, there are only 230 million registered voters in the United States. So right off the bat, just more.
So is there
unsubstantiated? Yeah. Huh?
Okay. To 20 million unregistered voters?
250 million registered voters.
Let's look at what Google says.
Well, that's what it's going to say. Ask it. How many registered voters in the United States? 250 million.
Let's see here.
I'm sorry, 230 million. There's only 350 million people in the United States, or 320 million voters.
Yeah, but then how many of those are eligible to vote?
230 million.
Yeah, so registered. I don't know.
So let's say 250,000 were. I think his comment was 250,000
fake votes,
registered voters that are not citizens.
Yes.
Oh no, 230,000
votes cast,
ineligible.
Ineligible,
not votes cast, just registered. Yeah, that there is 230,000 registered voters that are not legal citizens, that are not eligible. So if that's 230, so there's no claim. He made no claim, and there is no evidence that even one of those 230,000 people that are registered but not eligible actually cast a vote.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like this whole thing. If there's one fake vote, if there's one dead person, that was previously registered and they died, and somehow, somebody created a ballot for them and submitted it, that's bad. Right. And I guess technically that's fraud. Is that a systemic problem? Is that, does that constitute what Trump would say is voter fraud and swinging the election? I mean, I have to say that's the one thing that really bothers me is, I shouldn't say the one thing, but
yeah.
I mean, when you look back, and I've said this from the very beginning, Trump lost the 2020 election. And the reason he lost was because of the Democrats tanking the economy because of COVID. Everybody knows it's the economy, stupid, that for whatever reason is attributed to the president's report card. And I've said this before, even recently to you, that it was mostly the Republican states that were demanding to lift COVID restrictions and to reopen the economy. And in some cases, many of them did, and they went against federal guidelines. But at the time of the election, the economy had suffered. And And so Trump lost. And I believe that was the single largest metric. So when the voters went out, they cast their vote. Were there some dead people that voted for Trump or voted for Biden? Probably, but was that enough to swing the election? I certainly don't think so. I never thought that. And the fact that they have not come off of that point since then is frustrating. Like even you see, maybe you've paid attention to this, that JD Vance is all over the place now doing interviews. He was on, I think, Joe Rogan. He was on Bill Maher. Obviously, he's positioning himself as the adult in the room to potentially take over for Trump and to convince people to hang on, don't turn your back on the MAGA base yet.
Oh.
Yes, Grandpa is losing it a little bit, but don't worry, I'm less orange than him, and I'll be able to. So he's out there, right? And he was on Bill Maher, and Bill Maher, who's historically, I mean, he's probably,
I watched that by then. I watched that.
Yeah, and he's probably authored many of the articles that you have read in your subscription of I'm a Good Democrat over the years. And he has been so frustrated in the last several years because the Democrats have just lost their shit and they've lost their way. And Bill Maher has been basically saying, look, I haven't changed. They have changed. And I think that's largely true. And one of the first things he said to JD Vance was, look, I can maybe see myself, coming your way, your guys' way on the next election or a future election. But you guys have to come off this election fraud shit. Like you just have to stop saying it because it's not true. And will you here and now admit and acknowledge that it's not true? And I don't think JD Vance would do it. I think he gave a politician answer and refused to say in the affirmative.
Oh my God, you're so 100% right. And I think Maher said something like that shit's got to stop.
It does.
That was his quote, right?
Yeah,
which is 100%. Look, I watch Bill Maher. I don't always agree with everything he says, but I often do. And I think he's real representative of a whole lot of people, on the left. And I would push back on the suggestion that that there is a reason why Democrats should be some kind of monolith. They're not. There are a wide variety of opinions. You have people on the far left, and we talked about them. And I know the people that you would put in that category that really give you pause for concern, Bernie and AOC and
this fucking New York mayor guy. Oh my God,
Kamali. Oh yeah, Mondami.
This guy's terrible.
The Democratic Socialists of America. And then there's the Bill Mahers. There's a lot of people that are. There are a lot of people that are now independents that probably in the past would have been Democrats, but feel that, they're the Democrats. I think there's a lot of pushback for those kind of people, what we're going to talk about called the independents that used to be Democrats, that they don't like the way that the Democrats seem to, like you like joke a lot recently, always want to give shit away. And
yeah,
so
they do.
So for a lot of people that are not on the public dole, don't use any entitlement programs, but still would like to have a soul and not identify with the Republican Party, they've gone down this independent role, and I'm sure that they don't like it. But it's a large tent, right? It's a big tent, and so there's going to be a lot of differing opinion within it about that kind of stuff. So I think that. That thing about the economy being the reason that Trump lost in 2020, I'm sure that is true. All the reasons why that happened, I think I have to agree that, a lot of it was due to COVID, because that was ransacking the economy for so many different reasons, right? And the restaurant industry alone, how screwed up that was. And was it handled poorly by everybody involved? Yeah, I think the Democrats bear a huge responsibility, but I got to be honest, Trump kind of signed his own, you can blame the Democrats, but when you're a crazy fuck saying things like, hey, you know what? I hear that ultraviolet light and the bleach works pretty good. Why don't we just inject it into people and get rid of this? I mean, when you say stupid ass shit like that in public, I don't know how anybody could expect that you come out and get reelected. He demonstrated what a fucking tool he was the whole time he was president. I think people just I think there's a combination of being, the economy and just being fed up. They were getting wise to his nonsense, and people's memories fade fast. They were so fed up with it. They would have elected, and yeah, I'm sure in your opinion, did elect a dead person.
They did.
Instead of Trump, right? So, and then I think I'm sure that they probably regretted that too, because Biden's it ended up being so bad and so not honest
so
at
dead.
the end. Yeah, and so dead. And
I think
and
all of
even,
this.
yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, look, I don't even blame Biden for that. My feeling is that the people around him, the machine, the Kamala, the wife, the Democratic Party, they were so desperate not to, as they saw Trump reemerging rising like a phoenix from the ashes of the January 20th sedition, coup that he tried to do. As he rose from the ashes from that mess, I think that the Democratic Party was so desperate not to have him come back, that they made very, very poor, dishonest choices about Biden and how they went about that, and Kamala and all of that. So I've really come your way quite a bit on that.
You're like a
part
Bill
of it.
Maher. You're a regular Bill Maher.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's what it'd be great if we were just all thinking people and not fucking
Well,
lemmings and
I think
idiots.
all of this has culminated in a grand loss of trust in our government on both sides, and I think in a lot of what you just said, like, I have been on record. I lost my shit during COVID. I mean, just the reaction of what that was just ridiculous. And I'm not ready to go out and say it was a grand conspiracy to have some new world order. And I know some people are, and I'm not saying that. I think it's analogous to like 9/11, for example. George W. Bush. So he's elected in what, 2000. Didn't really have an agenda with relative kind of peacetime. He didn't, run on a platform of being a wartime president. And then 9/11 happens on his watch. And then that becomes the single thing that defines his administration. And obviously within the first few months in the aftermath, there was a clear agenda. Okay, go get bin Laden, go get Afghanistan. And then he owned the stuff after that, from like 2003 on, all the missteps in kind of, warmongering in Iraq and all that other shit, right? And it's kind of like the same with COVID. This thing sort of happened, and then governments around the world react to it. And then after you have enough time under your belt, you own everything that you do. So like the whole push to keep things closed, social distancing, all the vaccines, and even in controlling the narrative of what is good for you and what is bad for you. Like there was some common sense shit, right? Like sunlight, vitamin D, get out there and exercise. And the Democrats were so consumed with controlling one narrative, and I think that has stayed with them since that time, that they're not willing to entertain any other narrative that goes against their base. And I like what you said. I think the single, greatest word that sums up the Democratic Party is desperate. It's all desperation. And I said this to you in, and I think one of our group chats, that the Democrats don't stand for anything because they stand for everything. You know what I mean? Like they're not willing. What's their platform? They're just so desperate to get more people under their tent that, because that's the only way. If they get all these people in there with all these, okay, your idea is good. Your idea is good. Like if you get so many people under a tent and the idea, or put them in a boat, and the idea is we got to get from point A to point B. Someone's got to navigate. Someone's got to provide the propulsion. Someone has to have done the research to understand the stars or the satellites or the way we're going to get there. There's a plan. We all got to work together. These fucking guys have no plan. They're just like, hey, get everybody in here. We'll figure it out as we go. Whereas the Republicans, at least you know what you're getting. You don't have to agree with their plan, but at least you know what it is.
Is that so? I think I understand everything you just said, but I'm not sure.
I don't even know if I understand it.
Well, okay. So I'm just gonna regurge a little bit of it. So you don't like the Democrats because apparently you feel like they don't have a plan, and it's just what, that their whole thing is, we're not Trump. Is that, I mean, and
Yeah.
I think that could be true. I mean, look, it's been so Donald Trump, his his administration, and what he has brought in this second term, especially unbelievable that
Beautiful
it could
second
be.
term.
Oh, unbelievable that it could be so much worse than the first time. I mean, he didn't know anything, and there were, and in a desperate attempt to seem legitimate because he's not legitimate, he's a fake. That he brought in a whole lot of people in his administration that actually were knowledgeable and knew what they were doing, and many of them, most of them, were not. I would not say that they aligned with my political views, but they weren't. They weren't. They weren't anti-American. They weren't anti-democracy. They weren't all racist and you know and because of that, he was. There were some whole checks and balances on his behavior. What he could get away with, what he could make happen. This time around, I mean, he learned from that, and then had 4 years to suss it all out. He made sure that when he came back in, he has stripped out every institution, everything in the White House, all the cabinet posts, stripped them out of anybody that could think for themselves, has filled them with loyalists and yes men, so that there is nobody that stands in his way when he decides to go down some crazy path, not the least of which is putting armed military, masked, secret police on the street, kidnapping people out of their cars, shooting them in their cars, busting into their houses, breaking into their businesses. And there is nobody there telling him, sir, that's illegal, or you can't do that. Right. And look at these knobs that are going through Senate hearings right now to replace Pam Bondi being replaced by Todd Blanche. It is pathetic, dude.
So
And then
what do you think the impact will be of the midterms? Because when you look at kind of the impact of people not wanting to go against Trump and his own party, right? Toe the line because they don't want to sacrifice their own careers. If they go against Trump, they're going to be ousted. If I guess the question is, what's the impact of the midterms? If the Republicans lose the majority in Congress, then will they be more willing to go against Trump? Like, look, we got to get this back. We got to make sure that, we don't lose the base in 2 years time from now, or will they be, on the backside of Trump's second administration and then nobody cares? Well, either way, whoever wins, what do you think the impact's going to be of that kind of Trump influence and the fear from the Trump base to go against him?
well, I think there's a couple of different things, a couple of things there. I mean, I am. Let me take the second thing first. I am waiting for whatever the circumstances are that are going to enable Republican legislators, I guess, to to obtain some type of actual integrity back in their roles as at this point, Travis, they have all sworn fealty to him, and not because they think he's God or something, but because he controls their destiny right now, their fate. I mean, as long as he has the kind of political sway that he has, as long as he can primary, incumbent, long time senior, congressmen and senators out of existence, then they're going to do what he wants, and until they see that breaking, then they're not going to push back. I mean, I just desperately, Travis, I just desperately want to see the three branches of government retain their independence from each other, and do what they're supposed to do, and keep things in check, right? But he and masterfully so, they have managed to strip away all of the executive branch and everybody in it, and every institution within that branch that would serve as a gatekeeper or a policy pushback situation, and the judiciary, and they're stripped, right? So, and
You know,
Congress has also given up their they're they are not fulfilling their oath, and they're all kowtowing to the president, and that is not what is supposed to be happening.
I think largely on both sides, they're not fulfilling their oath, so to speak. And I'm glad you kind of said that, because that's what I was thinking, in that, when you say the three branches of government are supposed to work independently, I know why you say that, but that's not really true, because the whole idea is the idea based on compromise, right? Working across the aisle, you have bills that are passed in the House, and then a similar bill has to be passed in the Senate. And you've got to, if your idea is good based on the merits, then you should be able to convince members of the opposite party to vote with you if it's in the best interest of the country. So yes, they're independent, but the idea is that you work together, because there's this idea of compromise to pass things that are for the common good. I can't remember the last time that existed. And the margins are so damn thin on both sides that they're just so worried about protecting their own base and their own platform. And they're all thinking ahead, either selfishly for their own re-elections, or for the midterms or the general elections, when they're counting numbers. Like, oh, so-and-so is like, who's your favorite guy on death's door? Who's the most recent weekend at Bernie's guy? McConnell? Is it McConnell? Is he the one dead in the hospital?
Yeah, I guess so, because Lindsey's dead. So
Lindsey Graham, yeah.
That's all happened. That's all happened since the last time
I
we
know,
talked as well, right? Yes.
And so they're all looking at, who's knocking on death's door, who can we replace them with, so we don't lose, an ounce of flesh, literally and figuratively, on our side.
Well, that's what's going on with McConnell. Yeah, for sure. It's weekend at Bernie's at McConnell's house, because they've lost two. That's two seats that they can't afford to lose. Plus, Trump has alienated at least 3 or 4 other, Cornyn and Tillis and name them, that all got primaried out of their fucking minds.
Has McConnell made a statement, or is it just that picture of him propped up against the hospital bed?
As far as I know, it's just the picture, which, I mean,
will you give the Republicans credit if they don't actually put in a McConnell body double like the Democrats put in a Biden body double? Will you at least give them something? If they have integrity enough to let the guy die, or just put their hand up his ass and pretend he's a puppet.
If let's assume McConnell's not dead, because that would take a lot to
cover that up.
To sustain him being alive if he's actually dead. Because but let's say he's not.
How old is
dead,
he?
But he is a vegetable. McConnell is 84. I think.
Fucking 80-year-olds.
Yeah, well, hey, easy now. I get it. I get it. I get. No,
I know. You have a 7 in front of your for another couple of weeks.
For another couple of weeks. That's right. Yeah. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah.
Do you think?
I think. Listen, why couldn't McConnell? Why can't they just have him record a message saying, "Hey, I'm not dead. I'm alive. I'm recovering. I'll be back." That's fine. And
well, you know the why.
Well, because he can't. I mean, there's only one reason why you don't do that, because you can't do that, because he's a fucking vegetable, right? At this point, he had a stroke or whatever. He's not coming back, and they lost a lot in Lindsey Graham, right? Which is a whole, he really came to. I mean, I used to like him to some degree, but my God, I came to hate him a lot at the end, but now I'm a little torn. So go ahead.
He was a lot younger too, right? He was
only 71.
Yeah. Well, because originally I think the concern was because he was much younger and he had just had that trip overseas that the Russians poisoned him, and that he was actually murdered. But I don't think any of that actually materialized.
That's a stretch. Hey, here's the thing. Guess what? Trump has decimated our intelligence services and put in a bunch of boobs to try to run those
but even that, look, you gotta come off of that, because what you're talking about are the figureheads, in those agencies. But I'm telling you, the actual people, the intelligence people, boots on the ground, these are career people. These aren't the people that turn over with every election or their new appointees. I'm telling you, this is the other government, the shadow government, the military industrial complex. There are legitimate intelligence people that are gathering information, and it's happening. I know some people.
I believe you. I'm not disputing that. I believe you. But unfortunately, when you have the morons that are running these, and Listen, Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, this has happened since we talked.
Yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard, ass deep in a cult in Hawaii.
What's the
She's been
cult?
it's some. She's in a fucking cult that is centered in Hawaii.
She's not a Democrat.
Everybody. She used to be a Democrat.
Was that the
She
cult you're
was a
talking
Democrat.
about?
No, I don't know. It's a religious cult in Hawaii, and
All
she
religion is a cult.
she has been taking her orders and reporting back to the head of this cult in Hawaii the whole time she's been in government.
What's the allegation? That she didn't do her job as the head of intelligence in the government?
Well, I mean, the allegation is that she has been involved in this cult forever, and that they, she was the head of, what was her position? DNI, director of national intelligence.
But let's say
Yeah.
that's true. What's the so what factor? So she was
Well, the
reporting
so
back
what?
to her religious base. Does that mean she didn't do her? And I don't know if she did or not. But does that mean she is incapable of doing her job as the
Yes,
director
it
of
does.
national intelligence?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Because if that's
absolutely
the
it does.
case, let's peel back the curtain on all of these fucks, all these religious fucks who go back to their districts and to their home base. Who knows what the hell they're saying? Who knows what they've agreed to?
I am not I'm not a religious person, and I'm not a big fan, but I'm not ready to lump what's the right word? Traditional religion, as we see it practiced by most of the body politic in this country, in with fringe cult, actual fringe
Who
cult.
defines if it's fringe or not? Like, I personally, I'm not religious either. You know that. I think it's fucking dumb to get a book with religious verses in it and put your hand on it and swear to it when you're put into office. What kind of hocus pocus shit is that?
When you get elected, you can opt to put your book on the libertarian guidebook or whatever you want instead of the Bible. But
yeah, it's better than the Quran or whatever this fucking New York guy does. All of it's so stupid. You know what?
I am fascinated by your obsession with Mondavi, not Mandami or whatever his name is.
Whatever his name is. Well, I think it's ridiculous, right? And I'm saying that because of his socialism platform. I mean, this guy, he's on record of I think one of the biggest things about socialism is they don't want any individual ownership rights of anything.
That's communism, and that's not these people.
It is these people. The reason why they call themselves socialists is because communism is illegal. It's all semantics. It is.
I'm in such a better place than I was before. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So the idea is, and I'm being serious now, this is a concept that I brought up many years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think, a starting point. It's not a fully developed idea. I'm not saying, anything about it, but just take the concept of private property. We have embedded in this country, in our culture, in our constitution, this idea of private property, private ownership, land ownership, right? And if you just start there and you draw a line out of all kinds of problems that are associated with private property, whether it's wealth accumulation, wealth transfer, taxes, who gets to own that private property, citizens, non-citizens, the effect on the economy, the effect on immigration. That single concept of private property really is the driver for many of the policies that have emerged in this country and the problems that are being fought on either side to address those issues. And so when you draw a line in the sand as a communist or a socialist and you say, we don't believe in private property ownership, we don't believe that certain groups of people should own these buildings, should be able to charge these rents. We don't believe that certain groups of people who have made certain amounts of money get to keep that. We get to decide how much of their money we're going to take in the form of taxes or whatever. To me, the central kind of nucleus of that whole argument is private property. And maybe that's where you want to have the discussion about what does private property ownership rights, what does that mean in, what is this, 2026? What does it mean in 2050? What does it mean in 2100? What does it mean for the future of this country? And I think the socialists, they hate America. They hate the fabric of America. They hate the concept of private property.
Well, I'm sure actual socialists do, but that's not who we're talking about.
That's what these guys in New York are.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
Well, I
And
think
to
listen,
boot, I'm not saying every socialist is a crazy religious maniac. I think this particular guy is, but they're not all crazy religious maniacs, I guess.
well, if you're a socialist, you're an atheist. Socialists do not believe in God, and or communists. I mean, listen. Democratic Socialists of America is a movement within the Democratic Party. Granted, probably the far left side of it, to for more advocating for more social pro- programs for people in this country rather than less, and that's about it. There's
And to
nothing
do
in it.
that, you have to
Nothing in it.
take from the other
There's
bucket.
nothing in it about anti-private property or
There
anything like
is.
that.
Of course there is.
No, it's not. I mean, I'm sure within that group and people that would not say they're democratic socialists, there are people that believe that there shouldn't be billionaires and all that.
That's what they say. It's on the first page. It is.
if there was
shouldn't exist.
if there
They did
was
not
a
earn
first
billion.
page. All right. Well, hey, I get it. I understand. I mean, you are a true capitalist, Travis, and I respect you for that. And a good one at that.
Even this
and there's
fuckhead
nothing
Newsom
wrong
in
with that.
California is saying capitalism as we know it is broken and needs to be fixed.
Like everything, look, every type of, what am I trying to say here? Democracy in general, not perfect. I mean, capitalism is not perfect. Democracy is not perfect. The United States is not perfect. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I would just caution, and I know this, you're probably not being serious, but I would caution everybody to not wig out because someone says there's something wrong with any of our democratic institutions. That's completely different than lambasting these institutions with outright lies and nonsense in order to break them down so that the guardrails that you don't want to adhere to anymore are taken away. That's what's happening on the right. They're blowing up every democratic institution that we have, every check and balance, every what is the agency? A long proud tradition in our government to kind of keep an eye on things and try to keep things on a straight and narrow are the Office of Inspector Generals for many of our institutions and government institutions, and there's so many different places. Trump has purposely decimated the ranks of the inspector generals, and there's only one reason for that. You don't destroy that type of institution, those type of positions, if you're interested in watching out for the public good. You only do that so you can get them out of your way so you can keep on fucking people.
Yeah, maybe, but you bring up another good word, tradition.
Oh, I thought it was going to be fucking. What's it going to be? Go ahead.
That is also a very good word, but
Okay,
which I think should be used in one's vocabulary daily. But
well, we're doing a pretty good job of it,
as always. Do you think, and that really is kind of this where my headspace has been, lately in the last couple of years, and I certainly was reflecting on this as we were coming up to the 250th birthday of America, and what does that mean for the future? And I made a joke like, how do you say 300 in Chinese? What is this country going to look like in 300 years? What is the future of the institution of America? And I have always said that our future is not guaranteed. And I think what I would add to that is one of the reasons I say it is because we hold on to these traditions. We hold on to, and we fight 250 years later and beyond about doing things the same way we've always done it. And maybe we're not willing to look at a different way to do it or a better way to do it. And we're not even willing to listen to those ideas. And I think that's the part that, boils my blood is there's got to be a better way. There's new people, there's young people with new ideas, there's better technology. And some of the ways that we do things are just antiquated and outdated, and we need fresh ideas. And maybe that's because people hold on too long.
Well, I mean, I think all of that makes sense. I don't see any big disagreement with you on that. I would not use that as, so when I say things like, hey, the right is trying to destroy the traditional democratic institutions. I don't think that. I mean, I'm assuming that you're tying that your thoughts about new ways of doing things into a reluctance to see those old norms torn down and but I'm talking about willy-nilly destruction of those institutions and those norms without replacements, without good ideas. It's for my money, Travis, if as a people, as the human race, or how whatever group you want to break this up into, if we want to examine, say, all of the democratic institutions that I believe are important for our democracy and our republic to survive and keep going, and not forever. Nothing is forever, right? It's going to be a cold.
Do we need
cold
it to
dead,
go forever?
It's going to be a cold, dead lump of rock floating through the universe.
How do you want it to end? How do you want it to end if you had your way?
I don't. Yeah, I don't care. I'm not going to be here for sure. I mean,
well, okay. Let's say you're looking above, from down below. You're looking up, or maybe you're looking down from above. I don't know. I don't want to put you. You catch the subtlety there. Okay,
yeah,
just humor.
I got it.
If you had your way, how do you want it to end? And I'm assuming it's going to end, because I always say that. What republic, what nation, what culture has endured forever? Is there one that we know of?
Well, there's no forever, right? I mean, we're at it. So society, human society, us as a people, the timeline is so distorted because it so little was learned and so little progress was made over such a long period of time, and then so much advancement technologically and otherwise in such a short period of time, and especially technology continues to explode exponentially every decade, and we don't know, right? I mean, and I just don't know what that means. I going to go back just a step and say, hey, where I was going with what I was trying to say was, I don't mind if we change and we change things and institutions go away, as long as that's part of a process where we're examining those things and then coming to a conclusion of a better way to do it, and then proceeding to pursue that better way. If we're just going to tear them down with nothing there, which is what's been going on, which is what the plan is on the right, just destroy them, and with no plan in place, much like, and I can think this is analogous to the way the right talks about healthcare, which I know is a passionate issue for you. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to start a discussion about whether healthcare is broken. It's a fucking mess. I get that, but let's take this example. We want to rescind and repeal Obamacare. Well, that's fine. If you don't like the way that type of medical program works, then by all means, come up with a better way, and let's see it, and then let's pursue it. But to just destroy it for no reason and with nothing to replace it, no plan, no skeleton of a plan, nothing. That's what I'm talking about. Fine, you don't like the medical healthcare system, the way it's being, the insurance-based thing. I agree 100%. It sucks. But trust me, every day I just about pull a cork. If I have to call my doctor or my pharmacy or anything, it's so frustrating. I want to shoot myself. But not going to destroy it without something better to replace it. Until you come up with a better idea, you need to support and make sure that the existing institutions continue to provide the whatever they were designed to provide. And when you find a better way to do it, by all means, replace it. I just think that that's just really how I look at that part of it. But
I don't like that example. Well, I'll tell you why. Because I get, I understand what you're saying. That the Republicans just want to tear that down without a replacement. But I think the replacement is just go back to what we were doing. There was something in place before that, which was you had to get your health insurance through your employer, and if you didn't, you were fucked. So, right or wrong, they're not saying, there's nothing. It's let's go back to the old way. But I mean,
well, in a world where you could depend on, so listen, corporations, companies, business in general are not going to provide that access to medical uh, coverage, medical to health services for their employees if they're not forced to do it. They will not do it on their own. If there's no mechanism in place to make that happen, they will in pursuit of a higher profit. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them for that. Don't take this wrong. This isn't some commie plan, right? In pursuit of more profits for their stockholders or whatever. If there's no program in place that makes employers do it, they won't do it, and they weren't doing it except in some instances, but then only for the top tier of society, not for the poor, and because the poor people don't work for those big companies that will do it on their own or that are vying to keep valuable people in place, right? So, I think that all of that is good, but again, you need some kind of better plan. So if you're gonna, it was not working great. There's like ballpark 30 million people that have insurance now that didn't before Obamacare.
How many of those people were citizens?
All of them.
Oh, okay. I think the issue is, you're not wrong when you say that companies and corporations wouldn't do it if they weren't mandated, but therein lies the issue. Who gets to tell them? These are private companies. Why does some government agency get to tell them where they have to spend their money and what they get to make their money on? And that's really the crux of the issue, right? Like this is a perfect time to apply your guiding mantra of right and wrong. Never mind if it's a law. It's, hey, do you have employees? Yeah. Is it the right thing to do, to take care of your people? Yeah, it is. But if you're not making money and you can't afford to offer all these entitlements, but you're required to by law, that decision doesn't belong with the government. That's not right either. And I think that's the pushback on that.
Well, I don't disagree with that. But here's the thing. I mean, you got to take it one more step back. As a society, and this is where capitalism and democratic socialism, where the lines get where it's difficult. Okay, look, as a society, we pretty much decided a while back that we wanted to make sure that if not all people in the United States have access to health care. And if you're saying, well, there was a time before Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, where there was a plan in, and most of that was achieved through employer provided health care. But a lot of people did not have access to employer provided health care because there was no mandate for employers to provide it. Okay, so you just have to look at that situation and say, is that working? Well, if there's 50 million people in the country that have no access to health care, then that program doesn't work. It's not working. I get it. It's working for you. You've always worked somewhere where there's health care. I get that.
Not always.
Well, and when you weren't, it wasn't good. I mean, I went a long time. I wasn't married, and I wasn't providing health care for myself. You know what I mean? So I just think you have to look and say, okay, do we want people in this country to have health care? And then you let all the rest of it go and figure, well, then what's the way to do it? Okay, well, some of it can be provided through your employer. Some of it can be provided through government mandated programs. That is the kind of thing that government should be able to address, or somebody should be able to. I mean, listen, I'm not the religious guy. We've already talked about this, but if all the churches in this country could band together and somehow provide health care for people, whether they were religious or not, that would be great. I'd far prefer that than the government doing it. But that's not happening because they don't have to do it. Employers don't do it because they don't have to, right? As soon as you're not making as much profit as you think you should be for whatever reason, the first thing that gets cut is the benefits, right? Okay, it gets cut. Yeah. Sorry, guys, we can't do this any longer. I mean, I've seen this in the real world all over the place in the last 10 years. But again,
therein lies the issue, right? Like if you are providing these services through your business and then for whatever reason you're not making money, there's no program for the government to subsidize you, so that you're not guaranteed to remain in business. You don't get a subsidy check from the government so that you can stay operational and continue to pay your employees healthcare coverage. So the government doesn't belong here. That's the problem. The government doesn't belong in the private sector. And again, so I'm going to go back to the carrot that you dangled, which is, cutting programs without offering a better solution. The solution, I think we talked about it last time, is it needs to be centered on health care, not the coverage, not the insurance piece. It's the care itself. And I don't know how you do that, right? Like, I was thinking about this since the last time. There's just so many layers of cost that are just ridiculous and unnecessary. That's why people, go to Mexico for certain treatments. They go to, Turkey for other treatments. They're willing to go to places in Europe that have experimental cancer treatments because you can't do it in the US. It's the cost. It's the unnecessary burden and the bureaucracy that's the problem. You got to eliminate that shit. If you're talking about subsidies and a good way to maybe spend government money, I mean, maybe you have a program for medical school, if you need more cancer doctors or, whatever the field is, find the best and the brightest and put them through school and, write off their loans or something. Make it to where when they are in practice and they're literally on the front line saving lives, that you've reduced the cost so that the person can actually get the care they need and they can live. I mean, that's
all good ideas right there.
I don't know how you get there though. And the problem is, this goes back to the earlier conversation where everybody is just so tied up in trying to defend the status quo of what we've got. We're not making any progress. I think that's certainly how I feel. We're not making a lot of progress in this country, which is not.
Listen, one of the things is when in a capitalist society, right? One of the challenges is that I think there's nothing better than capitalism when you have multiple people making widgets, and the ones that make the best widgets sell the most, and the capitalistic system works out great. And that meritocracy, I got the best product, I get the most sales, or I got the best customer service, whatever. But when you try to apply capitalism to providing basic human services, food, healthcare, defense, capitalism, and listen, right now, to bring this back to something that's really happening right now, our capitalist system is subject to things that are not good too. And I think it's important as pro-capitalist, enthusiasts that we both are, believe it or not, something that capitalism should have no part in is criminal detention, right? What's happening right now? And listen, I'm just going to ask you to bear with me for a minute here.
I'm listening.
Okay. So why are we going after so many people, so many undocumented people, or people that are not citizens or are here and because they came over the border or whatever? Why are we going after people that have been here for 30 years, or their families have been here for 20 years or whatever? They work, they pay their taxes, they do, and they don't. And many of them are not even eligible for many of the government programs that so many whiny fucks on the right say they're getting, which is just not true.
Depends on where you are, but yes.
Yeah, and so what's going on now? So we have dumped billions, $100 billion into ICE, so that these people can be rounded up throughout the country and put into mass detention centers run by for-profit corporations, right? And the people that own those are part of this big cronyism that's going on. These are the big donors. This is a donor payoff program, and it's nothing more. Has nothing to do with immigration or what's good for the country. None of it. It's just this whole thing. We are putting so many people in detention centers. These fucking companies want to buy big industrial buildings, like for manufacturing or something, and put people in them They're not. These buildings are not.
Well, at least they're
built
giving
or
them a roof over
designed
their
for-
head.
That is just not right. I get it. There's the levity. I get it, but this is serious. This is these people become indentured servants. They work.
What are you saying? Like this is
Well,
like they round them
yeah,
up and
it's-
put them in like an Amazon warehouse, or this is where they're
Yeah.
going to permanently be
No.
housed.
Well, if you're in there for 6 months or 2 years while they fuck around, they're not rounding up these people and shipping them back to their countries. They're rounding them up, and the goal is 3,000 people a day.
This is only the
Right,
ICE thing you're
daily.
saying?
Yeah, this is ICE.
It's
right?
not like regular, criminals.
Cops are
and-
no,
yeah.
no. Listen, regular police authorities have policing to do, right? And there are actual criminals that they pursue. ICE only does one thing: they go after people that do not have permanent residence status. So they're and even then they go after people that have permanent residence status, but they're not citizens. And they're rounding them up by the hundreds of thousands and putting them into these detention centers and getting paid to do it. So, I mean, where this is happening in front of our faces, and again, so I guess let me just backtrack. Let me.
But what's
get
the
off
dig
this
on?
by-
No,
the
there's a
dig-
lot here. But what's the
this
dig
is
on capitalism here?
Well, this is because you have let this type of activity be ruled under under capitalism. This is not the kind of thing that should be. Capitalism should have nothing to do with incarceration. There should be no capitalist motive, right? If you have to detain people, and you do in this kind of a society, right? There's a place for prisons and things, but those prisons should be run by institutions that are accountable to oversight and overwatch from various, whether it's Congress or the OIG or whatever, for those kind of things. Certainly, they should not be run by for-profit corporations.
But why can't they be?
Capitalism,
Isn't it?
because it's
Wouldn't
wrong.
But wouldn't the argument be that those government-run facilities don't exist in the size that I use the word need, but
Well,
let's just follow your logic. The amount
well-
of people that are being rounded up, is there space in the government-run facilities? Like,
Well-
think about it. Here's my question: is this the chicken and the egg? Are the private companies saying, you know what, I just built this giant warehouse and no one's paying rent, I better go talk to the government and get them to give me some ICE detained people and put them in here? Or
No.
is the government, right or wrong, through ICE declaring war on immigrants and saying, we got to put these people somewhere? There's not room in the prison, so let's contract with these employers who have these giant warehouses. Like, which is it?
Wait, my head's exploding. I'm sorry. There would
You
be
understand
no
what I'm
need.
saying?
Well,
I get it.
yeah,
There would be no need if there wasn't an attack.
we're not rounding up criminals and putting them in detention. We're not doing such a bang up job of fighting crime that we need some giant explosion in capacity for incarceration. We only are experiencing an explosion in need for incarceration because we're picking up relatively innocent people under this pretense of immigration enforcement.
I get it.
Putting them and putting them into places where, and here's the thing. So why shouldn't a corporation be doing this? When a for-profit corporation runs an incarceration situation, and like any business, right? And we know business.
You want the answer?
without oversight and control, and these are, nobody can see into these things, right? So let me just back up. The first thing they cut is the quality of the food. So you have human beings detained, and the basic necessities of life are the things that these companies will cut first to increase their profit margin, because for them, it's not about the quality of incarceration or the fact that they're human beings or anything else. It's just about profit. That's all it is. I'm all for profit, but not at the expense of basic human needs. These are internment camps, right? This is the fucking bullshit we did to the Japanese in the Second World War. This is okay. I'm just gonna take a break.
Let me make a comment. Here's what I think.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I agree with some of what you're saying. I think I don't follow your logic, but I certainly don't come away with that as an attack on capitalism. And here's what I'm saying. At least these fucking private warehouse owners know that the government's going to pay them rent, right? It's like, okay, well, at least I have a built-in tenant here, and it's better than having a warehouse in these fucking communist cities like New York, where you have this crazy mayor saying you can live here rent-free.
Oh my God.
Listen, I'm kind of making a joke, but here's the
Yeah.
thing. I think you would probably say that the Republicans, the MAGA movement, Trump has dumped all this money into ICE because they don't want any illegal immigration, and they want, maybe it's racially motivated. What I really think is that if you look at it, the fear probably is that you open the floodgates and all these people are going to become Democrats. You allow people to come to this country illegally. They're all going to become Democrats, and they're all going to be granted rights to vote, and then they're going to change the constitution of this country. I think that's really what's behind it. I think that's why the Republicans and MAGA and Trump, why they don't want immigration. And that's what it's all about. They want to keep the doors closed. So now they've declared war. They've funded this machine. They're out looking for people. And as you say, they're rounding them up. I don't know what the numbers say, how much they're rounding up versus how much they're deporting. I don't know what we're doing. But again, I don't think this is an attack on capitalism. I think it's misleading to say that there are not these contracts that exist with private entity. This goes all the way back to what I said earlier about the military industrial complex. Everything is private. Do you think Boeing exists and makes money because they sell 737s? No, nobody pays for those freaking planes. They just lease them. They're insolvent. They make money because they do military contract for the government. The government pays them to make bombs and warplanes and all that other shit. So my point is there's a precedent here with the government working with private companies who make money profiteering from these programs because that's how they exist. It's built into the fabric of capitalism is what I'm saying. I mean, look, you want to get into the merits of rounding people up and not giving them good quality government cheese. I mean, I get what you're saying. Are the contracts between the government and these private warehouses publicly available? I don't know. And if they're not, should that be something that should there be some transparency there? Let's say somebody dies in one of these so-called.
They're dying every day. Yeah.
So what are the
people are dying in incarcerated people are dying in large numbers. Sickness, everything. It's just
so what's the accountability there versus if you die in a state-run prison? I mean, I'm asking. I don't know the answers to these questions, but maybe that's at the root of what you're saying. Is there should be some oversight, there should be some transparency, there should be some accountability.
Okay, let me look. Have you seen any of the reporting that's been done on I'm going to say most of these are probably congressional people, Congress people that try to go and inspect these immigration detention facilities and are absolutely turned away. No. Why would that happen? You haven't followed any of that?
No.
Well, I mean, if for no other reason, why you should feel that this prison for profit situation is bad. The fact is, when Congress people want to provide oversight, which is in the law, right? The immigration facilities are supposed to be open without prior notice to anybody from the Congress that wants to visit and inspect the conditions. And this administration has completely let the Justice Department just break the law and not let them do that. Why would they be doing that if things were being done correctly? Because they're not. Because the conditions are inhuman, unbelievably bad, and the people in them are not criminals that are serving prison terms to pay for their crimes.
Well, that's the other issue, right? You don't end up in jail.
Huh?
That's the other issue, right? You don't end up in an actual prison or jail unless you've been tried and convicted.
No, but you could spend years in a detention camp.
That sounds like it, yeah. How many people are in these detention camps?
Concentration camps. I mean, there is no daylight between this and Dachau. Okay, none. We
That's
are
a
engaged
stretch.
in the same
Are there gas
incarcerating.
chambers? Are there gas chambers in these warehouses? That's a stretch, my friend.
All right. Well, look, there were no gas changers in the Japanese internment camps in the Second World War. And that was the most standalone, next to slavery, despicable government sponsored action in our history. And we are willfully repeating it now on purpose. I mean, and every one of us that pays taxes and lets this continue without getting out in the street and making it stop is complicit.
Why don't we
Okay?
all just stop paying our taxes?
I don't know what that has to do with anything, but
Well, if we're complicit by paying our taxes, let's stop paying our taxes.
well, listen, I mean, we are putting people in this country into concentration camps.
How many
Okay.
people are in these camps?
I don't have that number.
Is it?
It's
It's
going
got
to
to be
be
less.
many thousands.
So it's far, far less than the amount of people that are incarcerated in jails.
I don't.
It has to
I-
be. Aren't there millions of people in U.S. jails?
I don't have all these numbers, but really,
it's gotta
that's
be.
not really relevant.
What should we do with them, though? What should we do with these people? We can't have
Well-
we can't have open borders. We can't have
Listen,
floodgates.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. These fuckers are they're not deporting people at anywhere near the numbers that Obama did or Biden. Check it out. Check the numbers. Right? They're not arresting and incarcerating people and deporting them. They're arresting them and incarcerating them, and then to pump up these for-profit prisons. And these prisons, these for-profit prisons are owned by big donors to the Trump administration and the right in general.
Look,
right?
maybe
This is-
where where
donor
there's smoke,
reward.
there's fire. Maybe yeah. Maybe where there's smoke, there's fire. It's a donor reward. But I don't know if you're saying this, and if you are, I just don't agree with it. That, and this is that chicken and the egg comment that I made, that the donors are making the donation simply to get their warehouse filled with people. Is that what you're saying? That it's like they're asking,
Yeah.
they have these vacant warehouses, and so
Yeah.
ICE is responding by saying,
No,
okay,
they
we'll
don't
give you a
have
tenant.
They don't have vacant warehouses. They the numbers are so big that in order to have more capacity, to intern more people, they are attempting, and fortunately being stopped, and for the most part, from acquiring large, facilities that maybe in another life would be a Skechers warehouse, right?
Yeah,
They're not facilities designed to incarcerate people.
I
They're not
understand what you're
designed.
saying.
They're not designed for human habitation. But it's not a matter that, hey, there's a huge need for this and they're just filling the need. They are creating the need by with ICE.
Yes, but it's not the private business property owners that are creating the need. They're not saying
It is okay. ICE, through the Trump administration and his Justice Department and Homeland
Yes.
Security and Holman and all of that, they are rounding up people in incredible numbers and putting that so that they can fill these for-profit prisons, so that the people that own these things can make a
stop.
buttload of money.
I track with you on the first half of that sentence.
Yeah.
I don't track
Well-
with you on the second half. They're
Well,
rounding up these people so that the private owners can make money.
So that they have the people to fill up as many of these private prisons as can be constructed or obtained or whatever, and it has no relationship to how many people we need to
Here's what I'm hearing
incarcerate.
you say. Tell me if I'm getting this wrong. Here's
But
what I'm
the
hearing
sky
you
is
say.
the limit.
I know, but here's what I'm hearing. It's the inverse of what I think is actually happening. But what I'm hearing you say is you're making the argument that these private business owners are buying land and building mass warehouses, and they need them filled. They need rental income. So they're going out there seeking opportunity, going to Trump, making giant donations, and in return getting rewarded these contracts. They are creating the need. They're demanding the need from Trump by filling their warehouses.
Yeah, exactly.
That can't be true.
Okay, well, we can leave it there.
Here's the flaw in your argument.
The thing,
The
it's
flaw is that there's an
Right.
assumption that you're going to have so many people crossing the border daily to fill these vacancies. I
There-
understand the
There's
reward
11 million.
element.
There's 11 million people here already. The border's closed. They have effectively sealed the border. To my knowledge,
So there's no
there are
future
no
rent.
there are 11 million people here. Do you know there's nowhere close to 11 million people in prison?
And there's not 11. Yeah, there's not 11 million people in these internment camps either.
No, but there's
10 of the
11
11 million were isn't that the Hispanic base that was already here?
There are ballpark 11 or 12 million. Well, I'm just going to use this term. It's not my favorite. Illegal aliens in the country. The plan is by the for-profit prisons, go round up as many of that 11 million people as you can so we can put them in our detention centers and the government can pay us for that.
But the way you're saying it is you're making it sound like this is all being orchestrated by the private landowners, not by Trump and ICE.
It's being orchestrated by Trump and his administration, right? But at the behest of private prisons
that sounds so illogical.
They're huge donors to the Trump.
Isn't that the field of dreams? If you build it, they will come.
No. Oh my God. I'd love to joke about this. I really would, but this is disgusting and tragic. So I just just food for thought. If anybody listening to this is not aware, is not seeing what this immigration push and ICE, I mean, why would the U.S. government dump up? I'm going to say it's probably $150 billion into ICE, right? They don't put that kind of money into your local police departments to provide you better, safer
not
streets.
Democratically controlled police departments. They want to defund the police.
Yeah. Okay. You get what
I'm
saying?
Listen, I get it. I kind of get what you're saying. I don't follow the logic. I think
ICE is the secret police being built out of nothing to round up undocumented people in this country and put them into detention facilities.
Okay, if you just stop there,
the government has to then pay the companies that run these detention facilities, and they make ass loads of money doing it.
Okay, if you just stop there, that perhaps is a true statement and makes sense. But again, I think it's at the behest of the government. The government has an agenda to fund ICE, to identify anyone and everyone that they think shouldn't be here, and then they have to decide what to do with them, which is still a question I have for you. And because they don't have a place to put them, they contract with these private landowners and they pay them a bunch of money. And maybe it's just like any government contract. Okay, so these private landowners are going, all right, well, warehouse A is full. What are you guys saying? You need me to build another warehouse B? Okay, I'll buy the lot next door and I'll do that. But it's not the other way around. They're not going, let me put up 10 warehouses and can you guarantee me future tenants for the next 10 years? That makes no sense.
All right, well, do your own research.
What should be done with these people?
Well, we shouldn't be rounding them up in the first place. They're not. These are not people that are committing crimes in any way, shape, or form. They don't represent any draw on our social services or anything else. For the most part, Travis, these are people that are mowing your lawn and fixing your roof, fumigating your house. Okay. And for the most part, these people are just good, decent people. Whether they're here legally or not, I don't give a shit. I mean,
so what should we do with them? And that's a serious question.
You should not be arresting them.
Well, fine. What should we do? I'm not a fan of incarceration. We had a podcast episode a long time ago that I'll never forget. I titled all these things, but you know one of the ones I titled it? Freedom, 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 death.
Yes, I remember that. Great title.
The idea is that I get it. There's people that are sentenced, lifetime sentences, nonviolent criminals, drug offenses, all kinds of bad shit. In my opinion, if you're such a terrible human that you pose a threat to the rest of society, you should just be killed. You should be put down. So short of that, whatever it needs to happen.
Them. Yeah, then incarcerate them.
No, don't incarcerate them. Like if you, again, take whatever corrective action you need on people. They should be free to live in society unless or until they are such a threat to humanity that putting them behind bars is ridiculous. Just put them out of their misery and kill them.
Right.
Freedom,
So
freedom, death. It should be very difficult to incarcerate somebody, because if you have a life sentence, really that's like a sentence to death. Come on, that's not humane to spend your life in jail. And look, there are some people who are sentenced to life that shouldn't be alive because they've done some heinous things. Okay, what I'm saying is those people should just be sentenced to death. It should be easier to take these criminals who kill people and are violent offenders and kill them, and everybody else should be allowed on the streets. That's what I'm saying.
I know you're not getting any mail or anything as a result of this shit, but maybe you should. You really, okay.
I'm agreeing with you on this point.
Okay.
People for crossing the border illegally should not be rounded up in internment camps. I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
I'm pushing back on your attack against capitalism, and I'm asking you a question. Okay. What should we then do with them?
So I understand now what you're saying. And so I get how it might be a stretch for you. My connection to capitalism is just that. It is capitalism that creates the type of situation where for-profit businesses would push the Trump administration to pick up more people so more people can be incarcerated so they can make more money. I'm not saying that damns capitalism, but it's the kind of intersection between capitalism and it's that intersection between capitalism and things that need to happen that can create motivations for the wrong reasons. So when you have companies that are incarcerating people for profit and that's their business, the possibility and the likelihood of abuse, of just all kinds of terrible things is just so prevalent. There should be no profit motive in.
But let's not forget, my friend, that profit is paying for the health insurance of all those prison guards.
Yeah. I wonder if it is.
What should we do with these people who cross the border? Should we just give them some of this diarrhea lettuce that's going around and make them sick and feel like they shouldn't have come here?
If you want if you're asking for my opinion on that, yes. I would just, look, you've effectively closed the border. I mean, they've done that, right? They've effectively closed the border. And I will be happy to give you that. I think there was a lot of mistakes being made by both the Obama and the Biden administration, and probably previous Democratic administrations, but especially those two, that caused a lot of people to come here illegally and create this problem. But the ones that are here, the ones that have been here now for a long time, they have been, and look, these people are part of the communities. They have children here. They're part of society. They work. These are, for the most part, the hardest working people in the fucking country. I know thousands of them personally. And they should all just be given a path to citizenship, period, and get over it. Move on. Take your fucking racist nonsense and get rid of it. There's the problem. And I'm going to get a little specific for a minute, okay? Trump is a boob, okay? I think we all know that, okay? But
a highly entertaining boob.
A highly entertaining boob. But some of the people that he has around him are seriously bad people, okay? Stephen Miller is the architect of this entire immigration situation. He is a little Nazi run wild, all right? Stephen Miller, okay? For all of our friends and neighbors that are listening to this program, for all the people that don't agree with the way my take on things, and for all the people that in large part support the Trump administration and the goals on the right, that's fine. I get a lot of your issues, but look at the people. Understand. I hear this a lot. I've talked to people. What about Stephen Miller? He's a little Nazi run wild in a very powerful government position. Who the hell is Stephen Miller? I don't know who that is. You need to know. These are the people. Trump isn't doing this all by himself. Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, now Todd Blanche. It's just, look, this is my point, right? There are some, and you're going to love this, Travis. I frankly don't think Trump is that dangerous. He's an idiot, but there are some seriously dangerous people handling the levers of power within the government now, and that's the thing that we need to be aware of. So, kind of leave it all there.
Well, again, I don't know. I don't know who these people are. I don't know who Stephen Miller is. Isn't the Stephen Miller band?
Just Stephen Miller band, yeah. That's right. That's
I never knew the Stephen Miller band was a Nazi.
I forgot about how that little bald fuck was a big rock and roll star back in the day. No, not him.
But look, here's the problem. Maybe there are dangerous people, right? Maybe there are people who have the worst interest in mind.
Yeah.
For I'm sure that's a possibility. But you got to create structure. You have to create something that has infrastructure to get you what you're trying to get to. So, for example, you wave a magic wand, grant all these 11 million people a path to citizenship. Let's say that you were to do that. How do you then address everybody going forward? How do you then say, how do you not entice another 10 million? They go, oh, look, all we got to do is get to the US and they're going to grant us a path to citizenship. How do you take what you've got and then fix it going forward? How do you disincentivize another wave of people for continuing to try to break the law and come here? I mean, I get it, right? I'm pro-immigration. I understand the history of this country. I understand. Yes, I can see why you would say he's a Nazi.
This is Stephen Miller, okay?
He looks like a character from what was the?
And that is not Nosferatu. That is Stephen Miller. He's the architect of all of the breaking up of families, all the incarcerating children, all the very, very immoral detention that we are all allowing to happen. Go ahead, Travis. Sorry. I think you need to see I mean, one of the few people that whose image actually matches up with his horrible, horrible actual self. Go ahead.
Yeah, I get it, but again, how do you solve the problem? If you just grant immunity, which has been a topic of conversation in this country for decades, of the people that are here, how do you fix it going forward? And to your point earlier about healthcare, you got to come up with a better plan. So there has to be a better plan, right? What's the plan?
We have now successfully for quite a while stopped illegal immigration into the country. I mean, check it out. Look it up.
So when the floodgates reopen, when the Democrats take control again, when the pendulum swings to the other side, which it always does, and they open the floodgates and just say, well, we'll just fall back on the program that we have, which is a path to citizenship. How do you address that?
I can't I can't speak to, unfortunately, I can't speak to next Attorney General. This guy looked like the guy you want to have in charge of the fucking Justice Department. Come on.
Yeah, you have to have that kind of face if you're an attorney.
Trump's personal attorney, okay,
yes.
is in Senate hearings now to become, and he may have been already confirmed. I don't know. All right, what do we do with the people that are here? First off, the people that are here because we wanted them here to pick our fucking grapes, pick our lettuce, mow our lawns, paint our houses. They've been here. They have been the source of profits for this capitalistic society for 50 years, if not more, right? And along with every other immigrant labor group that's ever come into this country, we have abused, taken advantage of, and corporations and companies have made profits on the back of these type of laborers for as long as you can remember. We owe them, and we have let them and allowed them and profited by them being here for all this time. So they really should be allowed to remain and become legal so that they can continue to contribute to this society and not be second-class citizens and under the thumb of people that can take advantage of them because they're here illegally. Okay. So having said that, as far as the future, just figure it out, man. You've closed the border, keep it closed, make some laws, right? I don't want, well, I mean, here's the thing. it wasn't what was going on was sanctuary was what's the word, Travis, when somebody comes from another country and they're being persecuted and they want asylum.
Asylum.
Yeah, nothing happened in the Obama or the Biden administration that wasn't legal according to the asylum laws. Okay, nothing. But if you don't want that to happen, then change those laws. I mean, that's the way it works, right?
Yeah, but that's asylum would be a very rare case, right? Like
it's not. That's asylum is why we had the massive influx, the caravans, and all the rest. All the people that were coming, and
you're saying recently.
Yeah, I'm not talking about people that swam the Rio Grande to get in here, right? Came in with coyotes in the back of vans or something. I'm talking about people that went to our border crossings and claimed asylum, right?
Yeah, that's a very small number.
Millions
historically.
It's been millions.
But that's
millions of people.
But I'm talking about the history of the last 100 years. That those are not all asylum seekers.
The last 100 years. Well, we're talking about so you're asking what are we going to if we let the people that have already earned a place, that have been here for so long and are integrated into the communities and have children here and all the rest.
Yeah, how do you get your start?
We give them a path to citizenship.
Okay, fair.
And then you're saying that's going to open the floodgates. Don't open the goddamn floodgates. Just
but you
got to have asylum law. Well, the only way
it's not just asylum though.
Nobody was coming across. Nobody was coming to the border and being allowed to go through if they didn't claim asylum. Every one of them that's crossed
that is
like
not
that.
True. No, that's not true.
Then what was happening? What was happening when
sneak across the border?
Okay,
they sneak across.
There are people that sneak across the border. They swim over the Rio Grande or whatever shit they do. But the vast majority of people that have been coming into the country illegally have been through our border crossings. And it's been because the asylum law said that if somebody comes and claims asylum, you cannot turn them away. The fact that they're turning away people coming to claim asylum now is in fact illegal.
Yeah, but that's a small number. I guess what I'm saying is when you look at the 10 or 11 million people, the undocumented, I think that's the better word that you were looking for earlier. The amount of people in this country, this is decades worth. This isn't, this whole asylum thing is recent in the last few years. That number that we've gotten to is decades of accumulation of people from all over the world coming here. And I agree with what you're saying. They're all baked into the economy of this country. There are things that can't be done without those groups of people, whether it's the Germans, the Irish, the Italians, the Hispanics. I get all that. And I'm not disagreeing with you. And
there would be no Cinco de Mayo.
Yes.
Which would be a huge hit to the bar owners.
And I think to the extent that people have pushed back on that economically, I don't know that there's been a decent enough study, or I've not read one that really illustrates the economic loss, the impact that would happen if you just removed that amount of people from the workforce. I'm sure it's maybe assumed and understood, but I don't know how well it's been studied, or at least I've not read anything about that. So I agree with you. But what I'm simply saying is if you don't address it, there will be a problem in the future where people just say, oh, I'm going to go there and get baked into the economy, and then I'll get my start too. Like there's got to be a better way. And I don't know what the immigration laws are in this country. You hear that it takes forever, that it's cost prohibitive. I have no idea what those numbers are, what those timelines are. Maybe it's better than some countries, it's worse than others. I mean, so that's really where you got to start is, make that shit more simple, strip it down. What's it look like? What is it that you want? What is it that you don't want? And make it easy for those that qualify.
I'm going to give you a number.
Give me a number.
In 2023.
Yes.
54,000 people were granted asylum at our border crossings and allowed to enter the United States just in 2023.
That's small.
But that's been going on for a long time. Asylum laws have been in place for quite a long time.
Yes.
So that's 54,023 in the midst of, but prior to that, I'm not going to go and look up all the numbers, but I'm just saying that it's not the 11 million people that are already here, But the only people that can come to those borders and get in legally are asylum seekers. The rest are turned away. The rest, and the ones that do get in that are not asylum seekers, sneak in. And I don't have an answer for that, right? I mean, we have a huge border with Canada. We have a huge southern border. They're porous. Walls don't fucking work, okay? And Mexico's not paying for them. Oh my God, this shit goes back so far. It's so thick, right? So I just, in all, I don't think it makes a bit of fucking difference. I do not see and have never seen, and maybe you can enlighten me. What is the big negative thing about people that have crossed into this country over the southern border? What is it that why is that such a big deal? Why do we worry about it so much?
Yeah, I think the argument is a lot of it's race related, a lot of it is politically motivated. Like again, the Republicans are going to say, "Well, we don't want those people to come in because they're just going to be Democrats." Well, I really think that's the big argument.
Of course, the Browning of America will not play out well for Republicans.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. So I think that's what they're reacting to. And
what?
Well, okay, I get it, but
okay.
But I think that's the motivation, right? I mean, that's really what it is. And so they want to preserve their base. I think there are other legitimate concerns, and this goes back to all the social programs and who gets to buy land, private property, all this stuff, you know, that we've been kind of teasing up this episode and other episodes. That I'm saying, I'm not saying that MAGA is saying this, but I mean, again, I'll just repeat myself. I don't think it's racism at all, because that's certainly not my motivation, by saying something like, I don't think you should be allowed to own private property in this country unless you're a citizen, period. And I'm saying that purely from a capitalist economic point of view. The cost of housing is so outrageously expensive, no matter what color you are. You can't afford to buy a house because there's more people buying houses than there are available houses, and there's strict competition. You have these major corporations like a BlackRock, you know, these private equity firms. You have wealthy Russians and Chinese who are allowed to buy property. Fix that shit. Don't allow people to buy houses unless you're a citizen, and then fix that too. Just find what it's going to be like to be a citizen. So I think those are the things that need to be addressed in this country. And I think that, to me, was my concern. You open the floodgates, you allow people to come in, you give free medical, you allow people to vote who aren't citizens, you allow them to buy private property. Like, that shit structurally has to get fixed first, I think.
Okay. Well, I'm not claiming that you're a racist. I know better than that, but certainly there's a huge, and once again, I don't want to bring the pictures back up, but I can tell you right now, the two pictures I put up in the screen for my phone, those guys are fucking racist from beginning to end, and their ilk, and a great deal of this administration, and a great deal of the Republican Party, to be honest with you. And I'm going to guess there's a fair amount of Democrats that are racist too, one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's assumed, right? Everybody hates everybody. Let's just say that. Everybody hates everybody.
Listen, white people, I mean, let's try a different grouping rather than Republican or Democrat. Just let's talk about white people. White people are scared because they are relatively quickly becoming not the majority. I mean, I think we're still the majority, but we won't be for long. And that is what it is. And I don't think, I think 90% of the motivation of this administration and the people involved with it and 100% of Trump's motivation is self-enrichment. That's it. Nothing else. He has no ideology. He doesn't give a shit about anything but himself. But the people that are attached to that side of politics, they as a group, they are white people that are afraid that they are going to be the minority, and they are willing to sacrifice many, many moral decisions in the pursuit of stalling that or slowing that down as much as possible. And so much of the policies of this administration and all the MAGA move and all that is all race-based. I mean, again,
yeah, I'll tell you, there's some truth to that, and I hate that there is some truth to that, because it's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I hate that exists, you know, that there's an underlying theme there, because that shouldn't, and it certainly doesn't in my mind, discredit some of the logical arguments that I've been making that are not tied to race. I mean, again, purely economically, those things need to be fixed, and it has nothing to do with race.
Can I get look? I just I want to try not to get round up, and I know we're probably running out of time here, but let me just throw a couple things out there, right?
Yes, sir.
We're watching things happen around us, and I know from a libertarian standpoint or from some intellectual position, these things are not race based, but the reality is that the reason why things like affirmative action have been reversed and turned around is race based. It is because there is a larger group of white people that are in places of political power because of the MAGA movement and so forth, that have been able to swing the needle on that and crush most of those programs, all of which were doing good for society, good for the people that they were put in place for, and not harming white people at all. That's just stupid. For every white person that goes around and says, "Oh my God, I didn't get this job because some unqualified black person got it," I can only say, "Fuck off." That's stupid, right? You have so many more advantages than those people. You've always had the upper hand. And the reality of it is, even with the most robust affirmative action programs in place, the mass majority of companies hire people without regard to what's legal or illegal, and they certainly discriminate in their hiring against people of color. That continues. It has always been that way. Is it better? Is it worse? I don't know, but it certainly is there. I mean, I'm in business. I've seen it myself 1,000 times. Right now, I think it slowly gets better, but there was no need to shut down all those programs. Now that's strictly race based, right? All this stuff, all this immigration nonsense, and the fact that we are allowing this administration to build a secret masked police with immunity to go around and pull people in this country, regardless of whether they're citizens or not, out of their homes, out of their cars, and incarcerate them with virtually no trial, no habeas corpus, no nothing, right? And they don't even have to tell people where these people are. They get picked up in one part of the country and shipped to a detention facility in another part of the country, so that they are purposely excommunicated from their support groups, their families, and people that could help them. That's all racist. All of that, right?
I think it's racially motivated for sure. Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
Look, I mean, I personally am looking
we
forward
need to stop it. Then we
What?
need to stop it, Travis. Look,
You and I need to stop it.
well, I mean, for my part, I love talking to you. I love being, doing this hobby of ours. But I'm hoping that my voice somehow gets out there to somebody and gets them to see some of this stuff that maybe they're not paying attention to because they don't want to be sucked up in politics or whatever. But this stuff is going on, and I am watching it.
Well,
And
I think the way to do that, if we're being serious, is at the end of the day, just what's baked into our system. And I said this to you recently, people vote based on issues that affect them personally, which is why you have a Mexican gardener who voted for Trump, because he was against abortion. And I think that's a good classic example, especially those who know kind of Southern California culture. But Trump stood for something that was important to your gardener. And so that's a good, I think, illustration of what we're talking about. So unpacking this and going forward, it's like to educate people that might not be thinking about their neighbor who maybe is here illegally, or their grandparents are, and they're part of their church group and their friends, or maybe they provide services, or maybe they're your dental hygienist or whatever, right? Like this, what you really need is you need people to start thinking about those in their direct orbit who could be and would be and maybe have been affected by these policies, and then really kind of make their voting decisions based on that information. I think that's how you can positively affect change, and it's all education, right?
Yeah, education. And there's so much discussion about where people get their information and stuff, and so much of that, Travis, has been manipulated by the forces of evil. I can only tell you, by malevolent forces that are not interested in dispersing information to people so they can make their own decisions. Bubble groups and things like Fox News and things that over the years have changed the landscape. And I can see where a lot of people on the other side of things look at things and say, well, the real brainwashing has been going on with the liberal media and all that. Well, that's just really not the case. But I can see where, especially if you're in the Fox bubble and you're in that bubble, and all you're in a certain part of the country or whatever, and your news sources are coming from certain places, and your actual physical contact with the world is made up of people who are way far on the right side of politics. I get it; it all seems distorted, but it's just, we just all need to try to use a little common sense and look at some of these things. When you see something like mass incarceration, when you see something like government sponsored concentration camps, which is what all this immigration stuff is, all right, close the border. I don't really have a problem with that. Look, we should have laws that govern who comes in and out of the country, and those laws should be applied compassionately, right? Not like fucking Nazi robots. Okay.
And I think,
yeah,
again, this is, you made a comment there about people accusing the left wing media, but it's all media, right? And I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is people stay in their bubbles. And that's why it's important for these major news networks to continue to air guys like Trump. Because if you only stay in your bubble and listen to people who are your sounding board, we won't name names, people that are just glued to Fox News all day. They're not learning anything new, right? They're just regurgitating, they're validating their own thoughts.
Right.
And people on the left do it too. They just do. So without seeking diverse opinions, without seeking diverse sources of news, without looking for the facts yourselves, you're going to be ignorant. And I think that's kind of like, there's been an escalation of that. The society has trended in that direction where people just stay in their bubbles.
That is a failing on the part of the people. That is not the fault of the media on the right or the left, right?
It's the people. And to those people, they should be incarcerated immediately.
Well, listen, I am, as a whole, Travis, not that anybody gives a shit, but I have become so very disappointed with the people in the country for their lack of ability to suss out the bullshit from the nonsense and the truth from the ridiculous non-truth. It ain't that hard, right?
You know what I think part of it too, here's another piece, and maybe we'll wrap up on this, but it's kind of this shaming, this cultural shaming of your views rather than education. Like, I mean, you grew up in a time, I think I've asked you this before, where you didn't talk about politics. You didn't talk about who you voted for. You probably didn't even wear that stupid sticker that says I voted today. You just didn't talk about it. But nowadays, in the last certainly 10 years, maybe the last 20, you're almost like expected to pick a side. And I haven't said this in a while, so let me just go on record of saying I've had 3 opportunities to vote for Trump, and I've not voted for Trump one time. So look, I'm not a Trump fan.
If you had, Travis, that would definitely affect my evaluation of your.
But that's my point. Is we got to come off of that. We got to come off of judging people morally for what they, decisions they've made. You got to fix that by education and helping them understand why maybe that was a bad choice or what a better choice would be.
I'm not judging. I judge people like everybody judges people. I mean, I'm certain that my views expressed here on this show are very judgmental, right? And so I get that, and you're right. And I think, hey, listen, as far as the left goes, or Democrats or whatever, you don't bring people into your group by shit talking them all the time, calling them deplorables and all the rest of the nonsense that goes on, right? So many mistakes. But I mean, and we know, look, I know a lot of people that are really really great people that whose views are just not that aligned with mine on the political front. And I am struggling and striving to try to understand why that's the case better, because my tendency is to want to look at everything from a common sense, point of view. And when I see people that are, especially are, have far right views, I'm just like, well, how are you ignoring so many common sense things that are right out there in the open, and you're just not looking at them? And I know that the people on that other side look back and say, well, you're doing the same thing. You can't see the corruption in the Biden administration, blah 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 blah. Right?
Yeah, and I think I think again, through talking it out, people will start to understand that their chosen political parties aren't what they used to be. And I think I said this to you. I don't know if it was on the last episode or we were in our texting group, but the solution's going to come from the Democrats. I believe that they have to decide who they want to be. And if they think that they are willing to have the courage to go back to, pick your favorite Democrat. Are you a Kennedy era Democrat? I don't know. But whatever that kind of common sense, Democratic stronghold used to be, whatever era in American history you can point to, Democrats have to decide, are they willing to go back to something like that or something better, or are they going to continue this crazy nonsense and just compete against Trump's crazy nonsense? We know what MAGA is. We know they're going to continue to get crazier on the crazy spectrum. And so far, it's a race to the fucking bottom. So it's up to your party, my friend, to fix the problem.
Well, just to make things clear, if you want to know what kind of Democrat I am, I'm an Obama fan, right? For me, that's been the high point of the Democratic Party and its accomplishments. And other than that, I just want to see this country conduct itself in a compassionate manner toward everybody involved, and make sure that people have the opportunity to understand the motivations of some of the crazy shit you're seeing on the right. Because I think more than what's happening on the left, it's all a little hard to understand, right? I get it. And not everybody on the left is upfront and upfront about everything. I get that too. But there's just this incredible amount of manipulation going on, and I think it's going to swing. And I think maybe the midterms are hopefully going to demonstrate a bit of a swing back to the center, and we'll see. But if it doesn't, then you have to hope for 28 that people really see the error of their ways. If there's not a swing in 26, and by the 28 election something definitely changes, we'll see. It's going to be a very interesting ride.
And if it doesn't fix itself, we have either Jesus or the aliens. So there's still hope yet, my friend.
Well, future. Yeah, sooner or later we're going to burn out talking about these fucking losers in the government. We're going to need to talk about something more interesting. Aliens might be it. I know you will be the wealth of information on that. So
yes. All right. Have you had enough fun for today, my friend?
Yeah, let's see what other crazy shit can happen before we get back together. That's always the fun part for me.
Never a shortage of that. All right, have fun, my friend.
All right, later.